Conway United Methodist Church family and all of those we are reaching through the magic of the internet. My name is Michelle Morris, and I'm the Associate Pastor here at First United Methodist Church of Conway. We have these Wednesday devotional times, and you may have noticed that we have a little bit of a different introduction to this time today. The reason is Pastor Michael and I were discussing the fact that so many of us in our community are really struggling with the fact that we aren't really able to go places this summer. We're still confined in many ways. That's keeping us from taking vacations. It's keeping us from doing a lot of the things, the travel that we would normally do in the summer. It's even keeping us from being able to visit family. Knowing that this is a struggle for so many of us, we thought we could at least be present and provide a space where we might all virtually travel together. So for our Wednesday devotional time, for now through the rest of the summer, through the other side of Labor Day, we're going to do these Faith-Cations, where we go virtually to a new place and share what we have learned through our travels there or what we have learned about traveling there. So without waiting any further, let's take a trip now. So here we are. We find ourselves in this beautiful green valley with some animals behind us, and it seems like a lovely, peaceful place to be. Well, where are we, in fact? Well, we are on the road between Jerusalem and Jericho. Now, one of the things that I learned about roads whenever I had the opportunity to go to the Holy Land is that the roads in the Holy Land and all throughout the Middle East and actually throughout many areas in our world, roads are actually designed by donkeys. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, what I mean is that we have discovered that donkeys tend to want to take the easiest route somewhere. And so they will follow the easiest route. And it is almost impossible, short of picking up the donkey and carrying it yourself, to get it to go any other way besides the easiest way. And since they always take the same easy route, the same easy route, the same easy route, donkeys ended up cutting the roads of our ancient world. They didn't necessarily pick the straightest way to get someplace. They just picked what they thought was the easiest road. And so rather than saying something like, we travel as the crow flies, perhaps it's better to say we travel as the donkey meanders. Now, think about that road. And the thing about roads that aren't straight is that you a lot of times can't see what is coming, particularly when we're going around a corner, right? And when we're going around a corner that's got an obstacle, we also can't see who is waiting. And that's the kind of road that a donkey will cut. Now, this particular road, which is, as I mentioned, the road between Jerusalem and Jericho, is notable to us for a couple of reasons. This is the road that the Good Samaritan traveled on. And for those of us that know the story of the Good Samaritan, it's found in the Gospel of Luke. And in that story, Jesus has been asked by a legal expert to explain to him who his neighbor is. He knows he is supposed to love his neighbor, and he's willing to do that, but he asks, who is my neighbor? And Jesus tells the story of the Good Samaritan, and the story is of a man who was walking on this road between Jerusalem and Jericho and was attacked and beaten by thieves. While he was there, waiting just in anguish and perhaps dying, a couple of people walked past him. They didn't stop and help him. Well, a Samaritan came along and picked up the man and took him to an inn, and not only made sure that he had a place to be taken care of, but he left enough money to care for the man and promised he would return and settle up any of the man's bill in a few days. So he made sure that the man was properly cared for. And that's one story that happens on this road. Another piece that happens on this road, though, is that tradition tells us that this road, this deep cut between Jerusalem and Jericho, is the valley of the shadow of death. Now, some of you may recognize that from Psalm 23. And I'm going to read Psalm 23 for us right now. And I will tell you that normally I don't read from the King James Version. I usually use the Common English Bible. But Psalm 23 is one of those passages that just only sounds right to me if it's being read in the King James. So I'm going to read to you from the King James. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. What was scary about valleys? Why would a valley be called the valley of the shadow of death? Well, in the Holy Land, it was one of those places where hyenas lived, and they would come out at night and they would attack you. And it is also, as we learned from the story of the Good Samaritan, a place where thieves might hide and jump out and take advantage of you. So it is a place, this valley, especially at nighttime when it's even more difficult to see what's ahead of you, is a scary place. It's a place that might involve some threat and might even be a place where you couldn't get any help. And certainly that was one of the challenges that the Good Samaritan faced as well. What did I learn about this road? And what have I learned about life from this road? Well, one thing is the easiest road isn't always the best. You've got to keep in mind that it might have been designed by a donkey. Another thing that I learned is that life is often determined by who or what is around the next corner. And we can't always see who that is or what is coming. Life is full of many surprises, some of them wonderful, some of them great, but some of them involve struggle. Some of them involve pain and loss. And that's part of the adventure of walking the road of life. But the other thing to know about that road is that as we travel through life, it does help to have places and people of refuge. You can see in the picture behind me now that there was a place. This is perhaps even the inn that the Good Samaritan found himself at, taking care of the man that was on the side of the road. It's important to build those places of refuge all along our road, but it's also important to be people of refuge, to be people that will see someone in trouble and will go to their aid, that will care and love our neighbor deeply. It's important for us as followers of Jesus Christ to build those places of refuge, to make sure that people who are struggling have safe places to be, but it's also to be those people of refuge, to be the people who will take them to safety. These are the important things I learned on the road between Jerusalem and Jericho. I'm glad that you can walk along this road with me today, and I'm glad that we will join each other in this journey of life together. May we be the people of refuge. Amen.